I think there's a misconception that when you start following a spiritual path, all emotions besides happiness disappear. My understanding is that as we become stronger in our practice of bhakti, emotions may come, but our stability in our spiritual practice makes us more stable and less affected by the emotion. Sometimes I'm scared. Yet even that comes with time and maturity in our spiritual practice. And so along the way, if you're human, which most likely you are, we will experience emotions. And like me and many others, you might experience darker emotions like depression or deep sadness and grief. And so for the sake of relatability and inspiration, here's a day in my Hare Krishna life when depressed or sad. Ideally, you want to chant your japa very attentively and, sitting straight, focusing on the heart or looking at the deities. Doing that can really, really help go deep into your japa. Unfortunately, in our reality, there are days where we might feel very down. If you deal with depression or if you're a highly sensitive person, you might relate to this, but there are days where even just standing up can feel difficult. And so on those days, rather than not chant, which some people might do, I think it's much better to chant in whatever capacity that you're able to do it. And so if I need to sit down or lay down to chant my japa, I will do that, because at least then I'm chanting my japa. I want to keep that commitment to Krishna. I want to keep that commitment that I will chant no matter how I feel. If I'm sick, if I'm depressed, if I'm just feeling very low, or I'm really sad, or I'm grieving, I still want to chant. And maybe I'm not going to be able to do it in the most attentive and highest standard way, but I'm still going to do it. And I think that's important. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare I don't want to encourage complacency. Our relationship with Krishna and what we do for him, like japa, it's very precious, it's very meaningful. It's just that I know that for myself I get really discouraged sometimes, emotionally or mentally. And then I get, kind of down on myself. And rather than letting that deter me in my relationship with Krishna, I found it more productive to move through it. Meaning that I might not show up in the best way, but I still want to show up. Otherwise, I'm giving up on myself. Otherwise, I'm giving up on Krishna. Maybe a week or so ago, I was feeling very depressed. I went into this, dark spiral. And when it gets to that point, I usually isolate and just go deeper and deeper into the darkness. But that time, I called a friend who's senior to me and that I know, that I thought maybe would be willing to support me at that time, and then cried and just expressed how I was feeling, and that made a huge difference. Such a huge difference. If I hadn't reached out to that friend, I would have been depressed all night and probably the next day and probably the days after that. But talking to this person, because this person was a good receiver, I was able to get a bit of clarity in my mind and encouragement, despite the heaviness I was in, and then grow from there. Sometimes what we feel might not be easy to express in words. Prayers don't always have to be expressed in sentences. Offering a feeling that we might not be able to understand logically to God, to Krishna, is also a prayer. And when I feel very low and I can't find my way with words, I like to sing, because through singing, I can put my feelings into the song. And like this, I don't have to worry too much about the thinking process. I can just offer my heart.